Excited to be on with all of you. I'm excited to get going with team practice tomorrow. We've been out there with our small group practice since January the 10th, and we've navigated a couple snows and been able to be out there for the most part every day, around the NCAA rules of giving them 2 days off, but it's been productive. And our guys, it was clear they worked hard over the break, and the window's just so short for all of us in college baseball to get our guys ready for game one. So those, a lot of people just think about the first day being tomorrow, but these days since January the 10th have been really important, especially for our pitchers. We've been able to keep them on track for the most part. They faced hitters. And when they haven't been able to face hitters because of the weather, we've kept them on track with our bullpens. So we've been able to get outside, and that's all you can ask for. And all of our guys came back healthy, and I'm excited to get going for the 2022 season.
You can fire away, guys. You don't have to wait for me to give you permission, as long as we don't start talking over each other.
Hey, Scott. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've been around this program for a long time, and yet when you finally take it over as the head man, you enter into a very unique and difficult situation with COVID and all that entailed. Despite that, you're able to get the team to the NCAA tournament in your first year. I'm just curious how you upon reflection, how you look at your first year. And do you see that as kind of a foundational building block that you can really grow off of?
Yeah, 100%. And I have had a lot of time to reflect. And, when I talked to some different coaches and even Coach Williams, that's one thing he said: if you let yourself learn that first year, you'll pretty much learn the most of any year as a head coach. So, and it was a whirlwind, especially with COVID. Well, everybody dealt with COVID, so I'm not one to ever say, well, COVID this or COVID that. So we all had to deal with it. But being my first year as a head coach and the extended ACC season, really never really getting a down opponent. Like I thought everybody we played last year could beat us, which is a credit to college baseball. But, I feel like I learned a ton, not just about being a head coach, but just about myself, that first year and what you want to do better, what you want to do different, where you hope can help our program succeed and do more than to make a regional. Because that was, we were happy the way things went, that we were able to get in a regional, but that's not our ultimate goal.
Michael, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. So with NC State and Duke obviously having excellent seasons last year, do you almost think it's better when both of those teams are good, just because it provides such high level competition for you guys within the regular season and the conference season?
Yeah, the ACC has been so good, and it continues to improve top to bottom. It used to be when I was first back here at UNC that there were some teams that you felt like, okay, we're going to win this series, or maybe even pick up a sweep. It's not like that with anybody any longer. Our area is so good for baseball. And I think when Duke's good, when we're good, when State is good, when Wake Forest is good, when all these teams, East Carolina, that only helps college baseball, gets more fans to the games. So, I thought obviously Duke won the ACC tournament. We were still able to finish in front of them in the overall standings. But the State, they had a heck of a year. It made a heck of a run with a great team.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, this is Mike with Spectrum. Just a pretty broad question. Obviously you got a number of returners, both in the lineup and the pitching staff. I was wondering early on if there's one or maybe two particular strengths that you see stand out for your team coming up.
Yeah, I do feel like we're going to have much more pitching depth. That was a major issue for us last year. We had a couple injuries early, and we had trouble getting starting pitching. I feel like that's going to be, I hope it's going to be better. I feel like it's going to be better from what I've seen so far in the fall and the preseason. I think we have more options, and we returned pretty much all of our bullpen. When you lose a guy like Austin Love, that's who I thought the last 2 months, I thought he was the best pitcher in the ACC. But we got Max Carlson back, and we have some other guys that we think can help us in those starting roles. So I think that can be more of a strength than people think, and I think we can be really powerful lineup wise. I think we can put, we could put 9 guys in there that can hit a double or a home run, which can change the game. We got some speed and some athleticism. So those 2 things have stuck out to me.
Any idea what that weekend rotation is going to look like? Are you guys still kind of plugging and figuring it out?
Yeah, Kyle, that's it's competitive. There's a group of starters that are fighting for it. With Carlson being back 100%, he looks really good. And, he had 7 starts, I believe, last year, 6 in the ACC, which are very valuable. So that gives him a little bit of a leg up if he's performing. So he's fighting for that Friday role, along with we have 3 transfers that have been very impressive in Brandon Schaefer, Shadden Peavy-House, and Connor Bovair. All those guys are in the mix, and we got a couple of returners and Will Sandy. He's the one that sticks out the most to compete for a starting job, but we haven't decided yet on the actual weekend rotation.
Scott, you mentioned those transfers, and then obviously Alberto Osuna as well. Just what can you say about those 4 guys coming in and helping your team right away versus maybe some of the experience they bring, and just how they've kind of acclimated to being Tar Heels so far?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first thing you want when a transfer gets here is you want to feel like that they're going to be good enough to help you. And the second thing is you need them to be really good kids, because they're coming in as transfers, joining a team. So that's where you have to be careful with this transfer stuff is, culture and chemistry. It's important. And, these 4 guys, that's the reason I said that, is they have been phenomenal in the locker room. And they're here to, they came to UNC because they want to get to Omaha, and they're all talented enough to help us get there. So they're all 4 going to play a major role. All 3 of the arms are legitimate ACC arms. Shadden's very intriguing because he can do both. He started Friday night for Coastal down the stretch last year, but he's also worked out the bullpen. And then Alberto, he's going to be right in that same category of a Jesse Wiersbicki, a Cody Stubbs. He's a guy that we're going to put in there somewhere. Could be 4, 5, 6, could be 7, but he's got a chance to be a guy that can drive in a lot of runs for us.
Hey, Coach.
Go ahead.
Just in terms of the offense, like you were talking about earlier, last year the team's walk rate was its lowest since 2008. Part of that's probably due to just the fact that you had so many young guys in the lineup who were really getting their first kind of look at some of that pitching. But, with that kind of year under their belt, I mean, how much improvement do you kind of see in that area? And I mean, how much will that kind of help towards kind of this team reaching its offensive potential?
Yeah, no doubt. You can't win if you don't have a fairly decent walk to strikeout ratio. It doesn't mean it has to be like we were in 2013. That's kind of unheard of now because of, even in college baseball, they're matching up with you more. Arms are fresher, the stuff's better. So automatically you're going to have more strikeouts, but you have to know the strike zone. And you have to take your walks, and you have to get hit by pitches. Those 2 things that, a hit by pitch is just like a walk. So we should be much better at that. You look at guys like Johnny Castagnazzi, Matt Horvath, Tomas Frick. I mean, all these guys played a full season. A lot of them went and played a full summer. And that's something you have to work on. It was very eye-opening for those young guys, being an older year in the ACC, seeing the quality of arms, and that only has helped them. But I'm hoping we're a lot better at it.
Coach, you mentioned Austin before. Now that he's gone, who have you seen step up among the pitchers as sort of a leader in that clubhouse? Has it been someone like Gage, someone like Caden? Who has it been?
Yeah, definitely those 2 definitely stick out, Gage and Caden. They're older. Caden, this is his 5th year. He's pitched in Omaha for us as a freshman. Both phenomenal students, but really they lead by example. Nick Pry. All the older guys have done a good job. Davis Palermo. And Coach Gaines actually brought that up the other day, is just how much better in his eyes it's been just overall from that aspect, the accountability and the leadership side. So we've got some older guys that it's clear that they've got pretty high goals.
Thank you.
Coach, last year, Tomas caught pretty much every single, every single game, but opening day, I think, behind the plate. And it was tough for you guys to take him out because of the defense. But I felt like you could kind of see it wearing on him towards the end of the year. Is that something that you'll try and manage, or is it something that now that he's got a year of experience that he'll have to manage a little bit throughout the year?
Well, we're going to try to manage it. If somebody can, one of our other three catchers, Max Reamer, Eric Grants, and a freshman, Dylan King, can compete close enough. We want to give Tomas some breaks, but I did talk to him when he first got back here in the fall. I said, look, Jacob Stallings caught about every single game for us in 2000, especially 2012, and you can do it, but you got to take care of your body. You got to get stronger, your rest, your nutrition. So I think he learned a lot in that area as well. He's a bigger kid now. He's more physical. But, we definitely feel like, I feel like Grants and Max can do the job back there when we do need to give Tomas, just a break from catching. So that should help him some. Both those guys have improved enough where I feel comfortable riding them in the lineup.
Scott, who are some freshmen last year that you like sophomores now that you kind of expect to make a significant jump? Obviously, a guy like Matt Horvath struggled at the beginning, but then really came on strong at the end. Just anyone there you've seen during the offseason really step up from freshman to sophomore? I
tell you, I'm just looking at the roster to make sure I don't miss anybody. I would say Castagnazi and Horvath, those two, I think they both have a chance to be really, really special players. When I say special players, not just help us win, but in time, Max is a draft eligible sophomore. So where he would get drafted, he's already, right now predicted to be a high draft pick, but he's got his head on straight. So he's not, in his mind, he's going to be here another year unless somebody changes his mind. But both those guys, you can just tell they matured. You can tell they went through a full college season, and then Mac went and played in the Northwoods League and had a ton of at-bats. Johnny, he ended up having an injury, but he still got a lot of playing time in the Cape. He was with Danny Soretti up in Chatham. I would say those two guys. And then, the biggest, probably the one guy that has stuck out the most has been Patrick Alvarez, just to be honest with you, is how he didn't play much at all last year, if any. And, credit to him, went and worked, played every single day in the Coastal Plain League, made one error all summer, got a ton of hits, walk to strikeout ratio was really good, and that carried over here in the fall. And he's that Chaz Frank type guy that, if he continues to emerge, having those guys on the field every day can really help your team.
Coach, speaking of having to have guys step up as leaders, you're having to fill 2 spots of your strength last year, which was your outfield. How do you think your outfield's going to replace Justice and Caleb this year?
Yeah, we talk about how good we were in the outfield, and if we hadn't been that good, we definitely wouldn't have made the postseason because we weren't exactly missing barrels all year. And they made some phenomenal plays. But as crazy as this sounds, I feel like in center and depending on who plays center, it's going to be Angel Zarate or Vance Honeycutt. The other one's going to play another outfield spot. I feel like those two guys, you have 2 legitimate center fielders in the outfield. So whether or not our overall outfield play will be as good, I'm not sure. But I think when you have 2 guys that are that good, and I hate to build up Vance that much, and I won't even talk about his bat right now, but he has the potential to be as good a center fielder, in that mix of Justice Thompson, Scott Bolt. Like, he just has some things that you can't teach. He's as fast as any kid we've had in here at his age. He's got closing speed, and then Angel has made himself into one of the best outfitters in the ACC. So it gives you a little flexibility, honestly, to play a guy like we have in the past, like a Jay Cox in left field, that can drive in runs, like a Reed Frunk, like a Sean Farrell in the past, like a Kyle Shelton. So that's kind of how we're looking at it now. Right now, Vance and Angel have won those 2 outfield spots. We haven't decided who's won center because they both played it so well. And then really it's going to be who we know can be a really solid outfielder, but can also, bring us offense in that other spot.
Are there any leading candidates for that third spot?
There really are. Tyler Causey has made the transition from first base to left field. Reese Holbrook has come back and played extremely well. There's some kids you can tell when they come back that they really improved over the Christmas break, and he sticks out as one of those. So those 2 would be in left. Casey Cook, had a really good fall for us. He's a second baseman, but we've been working him in the corner outfield spots, as well as Will Stewart and Joe Jakonski. So all those bats I was telling you about are left-handed bats. And then Patty, we worked him a lot in left just in case we wanted to have a right-handed dominant lineup, because Johnny Castagnazzi has transitioned and we've moved him to first base, but he can play all 3 infield positions. So we have Patty in left, Johnny could play second. So we definitely have tried to think of anybody that could play the outfield, and Coach Howell coaches our outfielders, and he has done a really good job. Our guys have really improved, even the guys that were not outfielders when they came in here.
Scott, you mentioned
Oh, never mind.
Scott, you mentioned some of the growing with experience, but 2 guys coming back that have that experience already, Danny Soretti, Angel Zarate. I can't believe we're this far in. We haven't even mentioned them yet. Their decision to come back and just what you can say. Obviously, we're talking to them later. What you can say about them coming back, and then what they've been working on and trying to do for this team during the offseason and into this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'm really proud of both of them, just because of, I met with them right before the draft, because they both had opportunities to sign. And I said, look, you don't need to come back unless you're coming back for the right reasons. If you're coming back to improve your draft stock, you need to go ahead and sign. If you're coming back to help us take the next step and get to Omaha and have a chance to win a national championship, I definitely think, you should come back. You're going to be more prepared. You're going to leave here with your degree. And they both called me and said that they had decided that they wanted to come back to school. So I knew that after having that conversation, they were all in. That's been so evident and clear. Angel's kind of always had that personality, just that even keel, but Danny's really matured, and that's why you coach. It's been good to see him learn to how to hold teammates accountable, practice at the right level, and lead by example. But getting those 2 guys back, let's just be honest. That was big for us. You take away Danny's horrific start, he's one of the better players the second half. And if he plays like he's capable of, he's a top 3 round draft pick, and Angel continues to grow. And, just as far as pure hitting goes, he's one of the better, got to be one of the top 10 to 15 pure hitters in our league. So having those 2 guys back has been a big luxury for us.
Coach, you talked earlier about your impact transfers. Do you have any freshmen who you expect to make that same level of impact this spring?
Oh man, you hate to put that on freshmen, but we've got some kids, like I mentioned earlier, Honeycutt, Jakonski, Holbrook, Casey Cook. They're all very athletic. You got Reese and Vance. Reese Holbrook and Vance Honeycutt, they have elite speed. So if they start, figuring out the game, that can help you generate runs, which you need to do, especially if you're at a bigger park or if the pitcher's that good that day. So, I would say Vance has stood out the most throughout the fall and the spring preseason. He's a guy that even if he's not bringing much that day offensively, he can change the game by getting on base and stealing second and stealing third, and playing an unbelievable outfield, because it is elite speed. If I'm not paying attention at third base when he's on second, he'll be by me. And that hasn't been the case too often, so he has that really good closing speed. And, we've got some arms that have started to throw the ball pretty well. And I don't know what their roles are going to be. I don't think we're going to have to ask them to pitch for us in the weekend rotation, but we got some guys like an Alden Segui and some others that can bring us some power out of the bullpen.
Guys, we'll take one or two more.
Scott, has there been one thing that you focused on with your team, looking back from last season, that you guys need to improve upon to get where you want to go this year?
Yeah, I see the biggest thing we've talked about is I know it can sound cliche in the coaching world, is toughness, but exactly what toughness entails, and understanding that you can't win championships if you're not good on the road. You have to go on the road and you have to relish playing in those tougher environments and finding a way, whether or not it's to win the series, sweep the series, or salvage one game. It's hard to reach your goals because playing at home for anybody should be easier. The competition is still going to be hard, but going on the road in our league, the teams that we've had here that have been our better teams, you know, they really enjoyed winning on the road and, you know, quietening the crowd, things like that. So we've worked on that and talked about it and understanding. The other thing we talked about is being better in the little things that don't show up in the box score. Like we've got to be a better bunting for a hit team. We've got to be better at reading dirt balls. We've got to be better at taking the extra base, those type of things that I thought we were a little bit tentative in last year.
Coach, at the beginning, you said you had a lot of time to reflect and learn from year one of being in charge of the program. What's something that you want to change about the way that you're approaching the team this season?
You know, I'd say for me personally, you know, I don't know if COVID was a little bit of a factor. Looking back on it, you know, I felt like at times, you know, when I would walk out on the field, I was thinking about the wrong things instead of thinking, you know, like whatever's going on up in the office or what do you have to get ready from the head coaching standpoint, instead of the most important thing that you do, period, as a coach is number one is your players and your current team, and then you recruit. You know, you can't let anything get in the way of those two things. And whatever else comes to your plate, you know, whatever it is, as a head coach, you've got to just figure out the time where it doesn't affect those guys. And I felt like, you know, with about 20 games left in the season last year, you know, I kind of stepped back and said, okay, I'm not doing that. You know, you work your tail off that hard to get an opportunity to be a head coach. I'm going to give these guys every ounce of attention, energy, practice plans ready, knowing what we're focusing on. And you just have to figure out on your own time how to get all the quote head coaching stuff done. But I would say that's the most important thing for me. And, you know, I feel good about that now, just incorporating some things that we do now as a staff, you know, meeting in the morning is the first thing we do, talk about our team, plan practice, get that done, have it ready, knowing exactly what we're going to do that day, and then go over what we're doing recruiting and then let the rest just fall into place.
All right, Coach, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you guys. 37 home games, a little bit different this year.
All right. Thank you, Coach.